Hello everyone, my name is Leonardo Gonçalves and I have been studying English since 2017. Uh, I like studying and knowing it. I think English is quite important for our lives, and I think it might open new doors for me in the future. And for the final presentation, this is my final presentation, I thought to talk about Cruz das Almas House of Culture, or em português, a Casa da Cultura de Cruz das Almas. So, my project, with the name A Brief History of Cruz das Almas Culture, is about a center that promotes regional culture of Cruz das Almas. And it is inspired in Stephen Hawking's book with the name A Brief History of the Universe. But it's just inspired because I like his story of life. Before I started to talk about my project in this short presentation, I want to tell you some information about my city that I love so much. Cruz das Almas is a town in the interior of Bahia, and it's around 100, 146 kilometers from the capital, Salvador. There are lots of interesting things here, but recently the cultural scene has been catching my attention. I like culture, I like arts, I like colors, and, as you can see. And I have to say that it's not easy to live producing culture here in this city or in this country. In Cruz das Almas, we can identify different kinds of music, dances, songs, etc. But no one knows when it all began, when our culture began. The historians consider the literate as the first cultural movement, but I don't know yet. And this movement began with three people: Galeno da Velírio, Jacinta Passos, and Manuel Caetano. They were born in Cruz das Almas in the last century in a different time. Yeah, of course, but they used it to write um, about Cruz das Almas, about feelings, about how was the people's life, and they became very famous. Now I will talk a little bit about these three people. The first one is Galeno da Velírio, just because he is older. Agnello Gonçalves de Oliveira was born in Cruz das Almas. Um, in Cruz das Almas, later he became a famous writer, and he liked to write sentimentally about Cruz das Almas. He liked to write uh, about feelings. And Agnello made an anagram with his name, so people start to call him a Galeno da Velírio. Some years later, Jacinta Passos and Manuel Caetano were born in Cruz das Almas. They were siblings. Um, they used it to write about Cruz das Almas, like Galeno, but they liked to write about human rights. Um, they liked to write about politics. I think you were wondering why I'm talking about them, but let me tell you how they influenced our culture. Maybe it's likely there were others who wrote, but they were the most famous. They were the most known. They have been inspiring new artists until nowadays. I'm not an artist, but I'm inspiring by them. Inspired by them. In that time, violence and violation of individual rights was normal, and people's expression was controlled by government, and because Brazil was not a democracy in that time. So a group of writers writers created a magazine. Its name was Reflexos de Universos, and there they could express themselves. Of course, they avoid writing about the situation that they were facing because it was very complicated. It was very dangerous. Around 10 years later, in 1986, the major of Cruz das Almas decided to rebuild the public jail and in another space. So the group asked permission to move the activities to the old building. So the famous foundation, the famous Galeno da Velheiro Foundation was born. And Galeno was chosen by them because of his importance, of course, and because he was non-political. And the group wanted to accept everybody in the house. So, do the red tape, the foundation, the Galeno da Velheiro Foundation, just worked 1 year later in 1987, and it was a terrific day. It was very fancy. They talked to me. It was marked in their life, in their memories. I wish I could finish this little story here, but I can't, unfortunately. After opening the doors, the House of Culture has passed to suffer with lack of money and with not enough money, and it almost stopped working for 3 times. But like a miracle, it is incredible. They solved those problems. There was a time that a Brazilian singer, famous Brazilian singer, Tonton Flores, he was driving around Cruz das Almas and he saw the group seated on the floor with the doors closed. And he asked what was happening, and the group said. So Tonton decided to make a free show for the House of Culture, and they earned a lot of money and they paid their bills. Since 1987, the House of Culture has been producing culture. It's around 5,000 activities, so it's very important. Nowadays, we are facing a pandemic situation, COVID-19 pandemic, and people are getting sick, people are dying. At the same time, we can't get together, and some people who don't earn money because everything is different now. And it happens with culture too. The House of Culture has been locked since it all began, and the House of Culture has been trying several ways to be activity. One way they are trying is to make lives for promoting culture, for showing our culture, um, but it's not so easy. Finally, the financial situation is still very complicated. But I always say when I'm talking about culture with my friends that it's not easy to produce culture in our country, and it will never be. It's simple. Culture is force, is power, and resilience. For and it is my final presentation. I talked a little bit about what I wrote, and now I want uh, to tell that I am very proud of myself because it was very complicated to record a video. It was very complicated to show my face, and I'm doing it as possible as I can. And I have to thank my family for all the support they are giving to me. And I have to thank my friends to my the teachers that I knew in and this time that I was learning English at Fisk. I have to thank Fisk, the family Fisk. Thanks for everything. Bye.